This is Candidate Conversations on the WIDU Radio Network. I'm your host, Jay Reinstein, and today I have with me Qu'Derrick Covington. He's running for the North Carolina House, District 45. Welcome to Candidate Conversations, Qu'Derrick.
Thank you so much for having me. I am super excited to be here.
Great. Well, if you could tell our listeners just a little bit about yourself and why you want to run for the North Carolina House, District 45.
Absolutely. So I am a son of Cumberland County. I'm a product of Cumberland County school system. I am an alumni of Fayetteville State University. So, you know, a lot of who I am, I owe back to this community. One of the things that really prompted me to run was people in the community over the years have seen my leadership as it relates to leading the TOSA initiative as the executive director and also serving as the vice chair of Fayetteville State University Foundation Board. And so, you know, I kept getting calls. They was like, hey, Q, would you please consider running? And so I thought about it. I prayed about it. I talked to my wife about it. And she said, hey, you know, if you decide to run, me and baby Q, we going to support you. And
Baby Q.
Baby Q, yes. We have a newborn. We have a newborn son who is 4 months old.
Oh, my God.
And so, you know, when we really started looking at the things and the issues in the community that the constituents were saying, they wanted someone that would deliver. They wanted someone that would show up. They wanted someone that would take their calls, that would respond back to their emails. And if you look at my portfolio work and what it is that I've been able to accomplish through various leadership roles here in the city of Fayetteville, in Cumberland County, and Hope Mills, I said, hey, I would give it a shot. And so that's what prompted me to run.
Got it. So how do you think the General Assembly should be funding or do maybe a better job of funding the schools?
Absolutely. Now, this is, I love this conversation, and I know everybody say that, right? But I love this conversation around school. So my wife is a public school administrator. She has been in education her whole entire professional career in the public school system. And so, you know, when we start having this conversation around public schools and funding public schools, we understand that we're the only state in the nation that has not passed a budget.
That is correct.
That is correct. We have not passed the budget.
Right.
And one of the things, though, that I want to point out is that we always talk about public schools, but I think we always miss one component of it. We must fund public schools. We understand that. We understand we have to make sure that we are paying our teachers more, paying our administrators more. But the other side of that we always forget is the engagement, early experience and engagement for our students. Yeah. We understand through data and through research that as well as the importance of being in the classroom is also important what they experience, right? And so when I talk about education, when I think about education, for me, it's how do we find a model that fits, right? Where it's not just one dimensional. And so when we talk about funding for education, I think we also have to ensure that we have a funding allocation that is giving our students experience to hands-on things, whether that be trade, whether that be entrepreneurship, as well as college readiness. TOSA Initiative, the organization that I serve as the executive director of, we've been able to partner with Cumberland County Schools for the last 4 years with doing summits each year. We do 2 summits a year that have that host over 1,000 students, 1,000 and 1,200 high school students in Cumberland County each year. Wow. Now, the unique thing about this, though, is that we rotated from the different schools, from Fayetteville State, Methodist, Fayetteville Tech. But the key here is at Fayetteville Tech, we're focusing on trades. How do we encourage education in a way to say, hey, you may not want to go to college, but you may want to become a barber. You may want, you know, to start a funeral home. We do the same thing at Methodist University. We do the same thing at Fayetteville State University, right? And so when I think about education, funding education, I think we have to have a holistic model so that we are empowering young people to be the generation that we need of highly successful and ambitious people that can contribute to our society.
Great, thank you. Again, we're talking to Qu'Derrick Covington, running for House District 45, Cumberland County. Infrastructure is something that is important, and economic development is important. Let's just really look at economic development. What type of incentives or what type of focus should you, as a member of the General Assembly, put on economic development? And is there, whether it's incentives, anything that you think should be the role of a House member?
Absolutely. So when we talk about economic development, this is very critical. And it's critical because we understand that economic development has a lot to do with how we engage with small and local businesses, right? And one of the things that we have to ensure is that we're bringing the bacon back home, that we're bringing the dollar back to our community. And a lot of times what happens when you start talking about businesses, and again, our nonprofit, this is our focus area. We focus on entrepreneurship and funding small businesses, right? So I'm super passionate about this. Is that a lot of times we have people in our community that don't know about the resources that are in the community. They don't know because what seems to happen is, see, when people are in Raleigh and you're legislating, if you're not careful, what's happening on a state level is not making its way down to the community level. And so then there become a gap. That's why I'm running, because there has become a gap.
Got it.
Where the everyday people like me, you, my family, my constituents don't necessarily know everything that's happening in Raleigh day to day. Right? So we have opportunities for small businesses and local businesses and entrepreneurs, and they don't know about it. I give you an example. I was in a meeting. I was in a meeting with some leaders across the state of North Carolina, and we were in a meeting with someone in Raleigh, and they were telling us about the opportunities that they have for economic development for college students as well as high school students to help them, to help them build out their business, strengthen their business through their trade programs and entrepreneurship. Well, when it came to Cumberland County, they said, hey, Q, we haven't had anyone from Cumberland County that has applied for this opportunity, right? And so...
Not good.
That's not good. But typically what happens, if we're not careful, we will lose the common touch with what's happening and what's going on the grounds with the people in the community. And so one of the things that I think that we have to do around economic development, we have to ensure that our local and small businesses are supported. They have to know about the resources that are out there. We have to make sure that we're not just legislating and coming up with laws and opportunities and it gets stuck there and it stayed there. It has to come back to 45. It has to come back to Cumberland County. And for far too long, it has been stopped. So we come back and we say, hey, we did all of these great things, but the people, the everyday average people in our community are not benefiting from those things. And so the last thing that I would say around economic development, one of the things that I plan to do once I'm elected in office is to ensure that we are working collaboratively with our partners. We have so many amazing partners, whether it be nonprofit leaders, whether it be financial institutions, and watch this. How powerful is it when we can set up and ensure that we are partnering with Fayetteville State University, Business Economic Development Hub, which my organization, TOSA Initiative, does a lot of great work with them, Fayetteville Tech, Business Economic Division. And these are literally resources and services that are here in our community where people have paid tons of money to do different case studies to find out what works. How do we streamline businesses? How do we help businesses get access to capital? How do we help businesses scale and grow up? When we have businesses, local businesses, small businesses, and entrepreneurs that can get access to capital and they can scale and they can grow their business, then our economy becomes stronger because now they can hire people within their community. You follow what I'm saying?
Oh, absolutely.
And we can then make sure that those dollars are circulating here at home. But we have to make sure that we're not just legislating, that we are also being what I like to call being an evangelist to bringing the good message, the good news, the opportunities back to our community to say, hey, listen, this is an opportunity right here. This is what's going on. Why don't we have anyone from Cumberland County? Why don't we have anyone from District 45 that has a spot for this opportunity? That comes with being intentional. That comes with making sure that we are doing our part and we're not just, we're not just there. Legislated. And again, that's why I'm running. People in my community have said, hey, we need someone that can get things done. We need someone that can deliver. We need someone that can bring the message back home. So it's not just this is what I have done, but now the conversation becomes this is how my community has benefited from what has been done.
Got it.
And I think that's the gap.
Yeah, and I think a big part of what you're saying is you got to be able to connect people to these resources.
You have to.
Connecting them to the resource. It's one thing to talk about it, but it's getting people connected.
It's getting them connected.
Right.
And I want to say this because I think that's so powerful. And that goes back to my first point when we were talking about education. We have to make sure that we have a connector because at the end of the day, we are serving people. People are electing us to go to go legislate, to go bring back opportunities to our communities. And if we're not bringing those opportunities back to our communities, we have to have a real serious conversation around what are we truly doing.
Yeah, that's a good point. There's so much partisanship right now in the General Assembly. A lot of things aren't getting done. You're a Democrat. You get into the House. Just talk about how you would be able to reach across the aisle.
Absolutely.
How do you do that?
Absolutely. So here's the thing. I'm a nonprofit executive, right? I'm an executive director of a nonprofit. I work with Republicans, Democrats, and independents every day, all day.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, for me, it's not about party. It's about results. It's about the people. And I think what happens too often is that we get so focused on, party lines that we miss the big picture of how are our people benefiting, right? And so, for me, the conversation is about leadership. And to me, leadership is being able to have a conversation with someone that may not necessarily believe and agree with me 100%. But I believe that there is more common ground that I have with an individual than there is in a disagreement, right? And so at the end of the day, this is what we do know. We do know people want safe communities. We do know that people want to ensure that our schools are funded and that our kids are learning. We do know that no matter if you're on the right or the left, that you want an economy that is working.
That's right.
We do know that it does, we do know that it does not matter if you're voting red or blue, that you want to ensure that you and people in your family have access to high paying jobs so that they can create a livable mean and wages for their family. And I think that's for me where the conversation takes leadership. And I've been able to deliver that, right? I've been able to work across party lines, right? And the line of work naturally that I do. As I mentioned earlier, serving as the vice chair at Fayetteville State on our foundation board, where we manage a portfolio over $12 million. Again, I'm working with people who don't necessarily think like I think, won't necessarily vote like I vote, but here it is. We found how to work together. And at the end of the day, it comes down to leadership and leadership that can deliver.
So here's the big question. Again, talking to Qu'Derrick Covington, running for North Carolina House seat 45.
Yes.
Why should people vote for Qu'Derrick on March 3rd, the Democratic primary?
Absolutely. I believe people should vote for me because I'm not your career politician. I'm not someone that has, been in politics for 30 years. I'm someone that has a proven track record of reaching out to people in the community and getting things done. I'm someone that brings fresh energy, a new perspective that says, hey, listen, for far too long, we have continued to elect the same type of person. Ones that will go and say, hey, this is what we're done, but it never meets the community. I'm here to say, hey, listen, It's time that we as a community demand better, demand more. Affordability is a real thing in our community.
Yeah.
Access is a real thing in our community. And I have a track record of going and saying, hey, listen, this is the problem, and this is how we solve the problem. And so now we're at a juncture where we can no longer continue to talk about the problem, but now we have the juncture where we have to say, hey, we need some problem solvers at the table. We need someone that can bring leaders of different backgrounds that believe differently, that may not agree on certain things, but can agree on common sense legislation to ensure that our community, District 45, Cumberland County, is moving in the right direction. And I believe that's why people should vote for me, Qu'Derrick R. Covington, in the primary. You know, my wife and I have literally given our life to public service. That's what we do. That's what she's doing right now. At school, after hours, working, you know, to ensure that our students have what they need to survive. And so I'm confident in what it is that we bring to the table. I'm confident in our resume. I'm confident of how we have delivered time and time over again. And I think now is the time that we must demand for leadership that delivers for District 45.
Great. Again, Qu'Derrick Covington.
Thank you.
Running for House District 45. Thank you for joining us on Canada Conversations.
Thank you for having me.
I appreciate it. Again, you've been listening to Canada Conversations on the WIDU Radio Network.